Okay, so in the previous classes, we learned about data types. We also began learning about conditional programming. There is a lot more, and we'll be using the if else elif statements in almost all the programs that we from now on. Yeah, somebody wanted to say something. Okay, no worries. So yeah, so we'll continue practicing whatever we have learned so far and building on top of it. Okay, it's not like one concept is done and then we are just moving on to a new concept and will not be doing anything on what has been covered. It's cumulative. So in this class, we learn more about strings, and then we'll combine all this knowledge and develop programs which include all these concepts. And remember last time we were watching a video about how AI algorithms are being used in the social media platforms. We'll
Yes,
watch
ma'am.
the latter part of that video at the end of this class. Okay, so let me share the PowerPoint. Okay, this is what we were doing in the previous class. Is my screen visible? Can everybody see my screen? I've shared my screen. Okay, I can't hear anyone.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so this is what we did so far. We haven't covered the complex data type yet. We'll do that later on, but we did cover dealing with variables of type integer, float, boolean, and string. So string is a special data type, so we'll learn more about strings. And we learned about how some of the arithmetic operations are supported on certain combinations of data types, some are not. So you experimented with that and you figured that some when you uh, do operations involving different data types, some are supported and you get meaningful results, some are not supported and you get a type error, and some, even though they don't result in an error, they don't give you something meaningful. And when you program, you will see some words in a different color. These are the keywords which Python uses. These are like these have special meanings in the Python programming languages. So they are used in the inbuilt code of Python. So you can't use these keywords as your variable or function names. So the moment you start typing it, it will show you these keywords in a different color. So you'll automatically know. And your variable name also needs to follow certain rules. We discuss those rules. The variable names are case sensitive. It should not start with a numeric letter. And it should have, even though like that's not a fixed rule, but it's ideal to have a descriptive name and something which denotes exactly what the purpose of the particular variable or function is. So use names which describe its purpose well. These three type of conditional statements, if else and elif. So if you wanted to, depending on how many checks you want to do, you can choose a combination of this, and there could be if inside and if. So it could be nested in whatever way you like, but it's ideal to not have it nested at more than two levels, because it becomes very confusing and complex. So unless there is really a need to write multiple ifs under ifs, don't do that. The syntax is something like this. You just write the if, you put the condition here, whatever condition. So you will use the logical operators here. Your condition should be returning either a true or a false. So if you use these operators, greater than, less than, and for comparison, you use double equal to. A single equal to is for assignment. For comparison, it's a double equal to. For not equal to, it is this. So you can use any of these depending on what you want to check. So you put your condition here and then you use a colon, and all the code that has to be executed if this condition evaluated to true is put here after an indentation. So there is a tab space here. Look at this space. This indentation is extremely important in Python programming language. This is how Python understands what is included in under if. In the other languages, there is a usage of bracket. Like in Java, we used to have a bracket. We would tell that, we will put the condition here, and then we would specify all the lines which would be executed if the condition evaluated to true under brackets. But in Python, there is no concept of brackets. We just follow the indentation. There's some background noise. Can you please put yourself on mute? And you can unmute whenever you have to ask questions or discuss anything. Okay, so this is what you'll do. You'll write all the lines of code with an indentation. If this condition evaluated to true, this will be done. And if this evaluated to false, what then? You could have a program where you don't need to do anything if it evaluated to false. Your logic only required to check if something is true, then do this. Then this is all the code that you will have. But if your program required to do something based on the condition being false too, then you will write an else statement. So if this was true, do this, else. So you don't put any conditions here. It's just that if this was not true, if this evaluated to false, just execute all the lines here. That could be the second case, right? So case one we discussed, where you just needed to check for if. You don't care if the condition evaluated to false. Nothing is to be done based on it being false. Only if the condition is true, I wanted to do something. So I just write one if, nothing else. And the second case, where I had two situations. If the condition evaluated to true, do something else. If this was false, then do something. So I just write else colon and all the lines of codes which need to be executed if this was false. The third situation could be,
please repeat else condition.
Yeah, right. If I wanted to check for further conditions. So if this condition, if this was true, then do this. Now, instead of else, if this was false, I want to check for one more condition. I don't want to just write an else, that if this was false, don't just plainly do something. Check for few more conditions. So if this was true, do this, elif, check one more condition, elif, else. So this is a short form of else if. So else if this was true, then do this, else if this was true, okay, sorry, spelling mistake. Okay, else if this was true, do something. So you can write as many conditions as you want, and within each of these blocks also you can have an if else within this block also. Okay, so it can be as nested as possible, though it would be a bad practice to nest it more than two levels. It makes the program unreadable and complex to understand. So, okay, so yeah, so you can write as many elifs as you want. And at the end, if the program demands, if there is a requirement, then you can just write an else, that, okay, if nothing of this evaluated to true, just do this. Okay, so I hope, this is just plain English. I hope you've understood this part. And, the more you program with these conditions, the more clear this concept would be. But indentation is extremely important. That is something which you have to really remember, that Python will, the only way for Python to understand what is included inside an elif condition, how many lines of code and exactly which lines of code I should execute if the condition evaluated to true or if the condition evaluated to false, is understood based on indentation. Okay, so before we proceed, can one of you share your Pyroid screen and let's write a simple program of checking if a number is odd and even. I'll help you if you get stuck with any syntax errors or anything. I'll stop sharing. So who's going to share? Bushra, can you share your Pyroid screen, or you have Anaconda, right?
Yeah, ma'am, but I'm not using laptop right now.
Okay, so yeah, I would prefer doing it on the Pyroid app. So who's going to share?
Ma'am, how will we prove that whether a number is even or odd?
Okay, so forget about Python. How would you generally, so if I give you a number, like what makes you decide that the number is even or odd? What do you think about it?
Ma'am, if it is divided by 2 and it gives a whole number, then it is a even number.
Right. So you're talking about quotient now. So you're saying that if it is divided by 2 and if it is divisible by 2, then it's an even number. If it's not divisible by 2, it's an odd number, right? So in Python, we'll do the same thing in Python, exactly the same thing. So remember these two operators that we have, this for division, the slash. So if you just do like, okay, so if you just do, let's say 12 divided by 6, what would it return?
2.
It will return 2, right? And even if you do 12 divided by 7, it will give you 1 point something, whatever it is. Okay. But how do you use this operator to determine if a number is exactly divisible by 2 or not? No, right? So, this operator is going to return to you quotient. The quotient isn't the way for you to determine whether, to check divisibility test. So you want to know the remainder. If the remainder is 0, that would indicate that the number has been completely divided, right? If
Yes,
you
ma'am.
divide 12 by 2 and if you are able to check the remainder, then you would know the remainder would be 0. So you would know that yes, it has divided it perfectly. But if you do 12 divided by 3, okay, not 3, 12 divided by 5, then you won't get a 0 remainder. So you remember the operator that we have to check remainder?
Yes, ma'am, which is
Ma'am,
percentage sign.
Yes, so that is what you will do. So just try this. Just try the simple code before writing the program. Just try doing this and print what you get as written. Try doing this and see what you get as a return. And then write your code. And I want one of you to write the code on a shared screen. So I'm stopping to share. I want one of the students to share their Pyroid screen. Okay, I need to enable sharing. Sorry about that. Okay, I just enabled sharing. Okay, thank you. Fine.
Ma'am, like this?
Yes. Okay, so just print it and let's see what output we get. Right, so you got a 0 remainder. Now check with a number which is not divisible by 2. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you do have this way. So whatever you use shared, that what you would do to check if a number is prime or not, you can do the same thing in Python. So
Ma'am, if it is an odd number, then the answer will always be 1.
exactly. So in your conditional programming, so given that you are given a number, you can take this number as an input from user, or you can even just, for now, just for simplicity, you can hard code it. And then in your if condition, you would check if the division using this percentage, so that you get remainder as the returned value. So if this division returns a 0, then it's an even number. If it does not return a 0, then it's an odd number, right? Okay, let me just annotate. Is it possible for you to enable the annotate option? Do you see any option there to enable annotation on the shared screen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no worries. It's okay. So yeah, so before the colon, you have to put the condition. So delete the colon and put the condition num1, whatever your variable name was, num1 %2, which means you are dividing the num1 by 2, and this is going to return the remainder, is equal to 0. And you will use a double equal to because we are comparing. So equal to and 2 equals 0 and colon. Yes. Then just print. So if the remainder, that means we are checking whether the remainder when this number was divided by 2 was 0 or not. So if it is true, that means the number is even. Yes, correct. Now go to the next line. We'll also write an else. So yeah, else colon. So in else, we don't check for anything. Print num1 is odd. Somebody was asking on chat as to what is the meaning of colon. Is your question answered now? The colon is just to indicate that you have put your condition, and now this is the end of your condition definition. So after colon is the statements which should be executed when you run your program based on whether the condition evaluated to true or false. Okay, now you
Ma'am,
can.
it is working correctly.
It's working, right? Okay, great. So now, did you understand the indentation part and also the if else syntax? And also note the use of single equals and double equals. In the first line, you are using a single equal to, where you are assigning this value 20 to the variable called num1. And we discussed earlier that Python automatically understands as to what is the data type of this variable num1. If you're giving an integer value, it will automatically take it as int. You can just go to just press enter after the line 1 and type type in brackets num1. So let's print the type of num1 and let's see what Python has understood this as. So we never mentioned to in our program that this num1 should be integer or float or string or boolean, right? Python has automatically understood it. type in brackets, put the variable name. So type is an inbuilt function of Python which gives you the data type of a variable. Okay, just put this entire thing under print. Just write print and everything else in bracket. Yeah, now run it. Okay, see, it shows it's an integer type. Now, if you change this variable value, just go back to the program and instead of 20, put 20.2. See, it has changed to float for decimal values. Now it understands the variable as float. Now let's do one more change. Instead of hard coding the variable, let's take it as an input from the user. Type input, input, and in brackets, a message in double quotes, enter a number. So now the program is going to prompt the user to enter a number. So just type enter a number. It's just a message. You can put anything here. So this program will still result in an error. We'll discuss what that error is, but just run this program. Okay, fine. This is expected. So you'll notice that, okay, we use this input, which is also an inbuilt function of Python, to take input from the user during the program execution. So we took this input, user entered 20. Now notice the second line of the output. The input that we received from the user is of data type string. That is what is causing the issue, because our program has been written with a number in mind. We divide the number by 2 and check for the remainder. You can't divide a string by 2 and check for the remainder, right? That operation isn't supported for string. So do you get a type error? What error do we get here? Just read the error statements and see what error we get.
Ma'am, it's a type error.
Okay. So the font was so small that I couldn't read it. I was just looking for that word. Okay. Do you see the type error somewhere?
I'm in the last line.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So type error is telling you that you are doing an operation which is not supported for a data type. And that data type is now string. So whenever you use this input function, whatever input that you get from the user is always stored as string. Python understands that as a string. So now we need to do conversion. Let's go back to the program. Let's fix the issue. Now we know what the issue is. So this input that we've taken, now we don't want this input to be taken as string. We want this input to be taken as integer. So what we'll do is, there is an easy quick fix here. So this statement, input enter a number, put this entire thing into a bracket. So type int and bracket open and put this entire thing into the bracket. So whatever input we will get now will get converted to input. So num1 equal to int. Yeah, edit the same line. Don't write a new line. We'll edit the same one.
My program.
Num1 equal to int. Yeah, and bracket and input. Okay, so I didn't want you to remove the input. I just wanted the entire thing to be inside int. Yeah, type input. That's okay. Yeah, put a bracket, type input, and another bracket open. Yes, just one bracket open. And you need to close one bracket. There are 2 brackets after input. You just need 1 bracket after input. Yes, and just put 1 more bracket at the end of the line. Correct. Now run it. Okay, so now you'll notice that we took this input from the user. So the input came in the form of string, but then we used another function int to convert that input into integer. Did you get it? Okay, did you understand what we did here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no worries, we'll discuss it. So, okay, so we are using 2 functions. I'll just share. I need to annotate. So I'll just stop your sharing and I'll just share my screen, or I'll just share whiteboard. So what we're doing here is, see, a function is like a black box, okay? It does something. Some functions don't need an input, some functions need an input. We'll be discussing function in a lot detail later on, but for now, since we are using the inbuilt function, so it would be good to have some idea. So what function does is, it takes an input, 1 or more inputs, does something on it, and it returns an output. So in case of programming, it can take multiple inputs, it can return multiple things, or it may not take any input, may not return any output. Maybe it just prints something. For example, when you use, everyone has used print statement, right? This is nothing but an inbuilt function of Python. What it does is it takes a string as input. Whatever you put here, its job is to just print it on the console. That is what it does. Or if you use this function type and you supply it a variable name, whatever variable name you put inside this bracket, so basically it's taking a variable as input, and what does it return? It gives you the data type of that variable. So when you use this variable name, right, num1, so you had this statement, so it returned the data type of this variable. So in our case one, the data type was returned as int because num1 had a value 20. Then we changed the value to 20.2 something. Then this function returned float, telling us that this variable is of data type float. And later we changed num1 to hold the value returned by input from user, right? We had put this line that num1 is equal to input. So this is just a message. So input is again a function where you just put whatever message you put here, you know, it will print this message on the console and prompt the user to enter something. So this function is just, its job is you give a message as an input parameter to this function, and what this function does is whatever message you have put here, it'll just print that message and give an input box to the user so the user can enter, you know, whatever. So in this message you will indicate what the user is supposed to enter. So the user will enter it in that input box, and whatever the user enters, that is the quantity that is returned by this function. And Python will always return, you know, this function always returns a string. So whatever the user enters, even if the user enters 2, this is returned as a string and not a number. So if you take num1 as, you know, using this function, you get a string, a string value inside this variable. So now when you use type says that num1 is a string data type. So to fix that, what we do is, so, you know, before changing this line, I guess just try this. Just initialize one variable, okay? Variable 1 or whatever, you can give any names. So initialize any variable with a string value, put 23, okay? Then print the type of this variable. So this will return string, right? Even though it's a number, but you have put it in code, so it's taken as string. Now declare another variable, maybe with the same value or a different value, and try this. So now this will print int. You can put this in the print statement if, you know, it does not print directly. So this will print int, indicating that variable 2 is an integer data type. Whatever value variable 2 holds is of type integer. Now let's try to do type conversion, meaning can we convert this string value to integer value? So
Ma'am,
do integer.
ma'am, why is it showing error?
Like,
Ma'am, when we did ma'am, when we take the value of num1 in input, why did it show the error, type error?
yes, so it showed an error, type error, because, so, you know, fix that program later. Just write a new program, just declare a variable Okay, forget about input. Just instead of typing variable 1 is equal to 22, put this 22 in double quotes. So this 22 will now be taken as string. If you can, verify this by printing the type of variable 1, it will say it's a string data type. So, and now try variable 1 divided by anything, divide by 2. This will give you an error because Python will tell you that I can't divide a string by a number. It's not supported. So it will give you a type error. Whereas if you now change this code to, declare a new variable, but put this number without a double quotes, you can also validate the data type of variable 2 by using this and do variable 2 divide by 2. This will give you an output. So if this doesn't print directly, you can put this under print. Okay, try both these variations. And this is the case that was happening with us. So instead of we had not hard coded this value, but this value was coming through the input function, and input function always returns a string. So we were actually getting the number in this fashion. That is why it was resulting in an error. And to fix this, what we can do is we can convert the data type. So now Python has taken variable 1 as string, but we want to make Python understand that, that convert this to an integer data type, because even though I've put it in the form of string, it's actually a number. So just convert it to integer. So it won't do it on its own. You have to use a function to do that. And the function is just int. So what you do is, before printing this, maybe use for simplicity, let's just put a new variable. Variable 3 is equal to the integer version of variable 1. So now this will work fine, because if you put variable 1 here, this will result in a type error. But now you have declared a new variable which holds the integer value of variable 1. So this 22, which was earlier a string, is now converted to an integer, and now you are doing a perfectly supported mathematical operation. So this will work.
Ma'am, if variable one instead of 22 we take a name, so what will we print?
Okay, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. So yeah, so now if we had, let's say I have this variable num, but I put a value rock. And now if I try to, if I ask Python to change the value of num to integer, what do you think it should do? Will it be able to convert rock to an integer?
Ma'am, error.
It should give you an error. So just do this and tell me what error, the name of the error. It won't be able to do conversion, right? Only if it makes sense. If it was a number, it would be able to convert, but if you enter anything random, it can't convert it to integer. And in our code, instead of writing these things in two different lines, we put everything in just one statement. But we did exactly this. What we did was, we said that num1 is equal to, okay, you know what? I need some space to write. Let me write here. So we did this. We did num1 is equal to, we took an input from the user, and this is the message. So when you're taking an input from the user, we should always indicate what is the input that is required. So you have to specify to the user. So enter a number, otherwise, they can enter anything, right? So you have to tell them.
Ma'am, it's showing a value error.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so add that to your dictionary. So now you know about type error, you know about name error. Now you also know about value error. So every time you get an exception, an error trace, don't ignore it, don't panic, don't just try to get things working. Go through the error, read it in detail. It will show you the line number and it will show you the name of the error. The name is very descriptive. So, keep adding these things to your memory. So at least, you don't need to memorize these errors, but the more you understand, when you write complex programs, just looking at the error, you will exactly know what kind of mistake you might have done. So it helps you debug faster. Okay, so we did this, and now whatever the user will enter in the input box, that will be returned as a string. So ultimately, num1 will hold to a string. So we didn't want that. So we converted this to integer. So, oops. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so what we did was we put an int here. So the output returned by the input function, which was whatever you had put in the input box in the form of string, is given to this function int so that it is converted to integer. So now num1 holds an int value of whatever the user had entered. So it's just a shorter version. Instead of writing 2 or 3 lines, we put everything in one line. But if this makes it confusing and complicated, then just write it in different lines for now. Okay, can one of you just show me the program? I hope you understood what we did here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll stop sharing so that you can share. Okay, so here you were trying the, okay.
I was thinking if
yeah.
we give in a number in words, then what will happen?
Right, okay,
Ma'am, it is showing an error.
right, it should, yes, like we expected. Okay, now let's go back to our original program of odd even and just write it with this type conversion. So we take this input, just put this entire thing. So either you declare a new variable if for now if you find it confusing putting everything in one statement, but okay, yeah, just put a bracket at the end. Perfect. And there is a spelling mistake. TYP, you have by mistake put U. Okay. Okay. So now, even though you are taking an input from the user, but then you're converting it to int. So that variable is still an integer. You printed the type of the variable, it prints int. And it tells you whether the number is even or odd. Perfect.